So, Joe, Wife of the Spy, what did you think?
Well, the honest answer is I'm not entirely sure. Um, I don't know if there are things I just don't understand about this film, or if it didn't entirely cohere for me. But I thought it's a very promising and clever opening. It opens with a wide shot of a man being arrested, and it's broad daylight, and everything seems really straightforward. There is nothing hidden. It's very sort of open opening. Then it cuts to a scene with the arresting officer in this guy's office, and it turns out they know each other, and he's warning him to avoid the man who's been arrested, and the tone changes. This exchange becomes a bit sinister. Then it cuts again, and there's a woman in a face mask looking directly to camera. And so it seems to say that what you're looking at may not be as straightforward as it at first seems. And so the film uses its symbolism, its mise en scène, as a way of suggesting there's a broader key to understanding the film, that you ought to be kind of vigilant. And then that scene cuts and we realize it's a film within a film. And this recurs because the main character, sort of as a sideline, it seems, is also a filmmaker. The film reminded me tonally of that film Azor, which was Andrea Fontana movie. I saw it a few weeks ago, about Argentina. And that film had this, I had the feeling while I was watching that film that the film was smarter than I was, and it was doing something I didn't quite understand. And it was sort of thrilling and unnerving and puzzling. And so I felt kind of the same way with this film. I felt like it was doing something I didn't quite grasp, but was convinced I would understand in time. And because I felt like that, there were moments where the plotting seemed sort of clumsy or even inept, but I kept feeling like perhaps it's supposed to be like that because it's trying to unsettle me. For example, when they were planning their escape to America, it just didn't seem plausible that they wouldn't be surveilled more closely. Then there's also a scene right towards the end where she's a stowaway on a boat, and she gets found out. Almost immediately they close the box, and it just seems almost ludicrous and quite funny and staged. And then the film's the penultimate scene, the woman escapes from a bombed out hospital onto what is clearly a film set, but this is real within the reality of the film. I also felt like the woman's guilelessness, her sort of superficiality, was surely a red herring, and that the film was too smart for this to be another portrait of a devoted wife. And yet when it came to the end, the big reveal, the twist that he has betrayed her, depends in fact on that being the case, that she is just devoted to her husband and wants to be with him and save him. And so because I thought actually the film was going to be smarter than that, and she was going to be a more interesting character than that, I didn't care about the twist. And I realized at that point I wasn't really emotionally invested in the film, because I kept waiting for it to do something, to explain what was going on with this film within a film technique. And this idea, I mean, clearly this is a symbol of artificiality and untrustworthiness, and things are not what they seem, which is fine and makes sense as a symbol, but I didn't really understand its use in the context of this film. And so I came out of it feeling a bit puzzled. And I still don't know. I'm still not sure. I'll be interested to hear how you felt about it, because I still don't know if the film is inept, clumsy, and a bit televisual, or if it's intentionally like that for reasons that elude me.
Yeah, well, I'm still baffled by this film as well. Even a little bit as to kind of precisely what has happened here, who's really double-crossed who. You know, I'm still not 100% sure of exactly what has happened. I mean, I kind of know the basics, but I do have the feeling that it's deliberately a little bit vague and ambiguous. I mean, what I liked about this film, let's start with that. I thought the cinematography was really interesting because it's shot in a really strange way. You know, it's almost dreamlike. It's not, it doesn't feel real. There's a really soft focus. It often seems, I don't know if it's overexposed, but the if that's the right term, but the light is, you know, like windows, you often can't see out of windows. They're just pure white light. It's kind of not, you know, it's always kind of dreamlike and almost in this, you know, not quite reality. And it's such a kind of green, yellow and brown palette. You know, there's hardly any red or even kind of strong color in this film. The only real color we see, because it's so muted, that palette, but then we do often see she has a stronger color in her dress, but they're still muted. So she might wear a blue dress or a stronger yellow dress, which so that she stands out. But I thought that was interesting. That kind of created, I mean, I thought it looked quite good to watch. I quite liked the fact that it had kind of elements of a Hollywood film. You know, it felt at times like a Saturday afternoon black and white TV film, but not too much, you know. And I guess I don't know enough about Japanese cinema to know what other references might be in there. You know, I think you probably, and this is probably the same with any film that we watch from countries where we don't know a lot about the cinema, is that you really need to know how that sits in Japanese film culture. You know, I do wonder if I'm missing some elements of it because of, you know, you need to know Japanese cinema. I kind of liked that it was understated. It never, you know, you wouldn't really ever call it a thriller. It was never had you on edge. Even the, I mean, you know, you kind of alluded to it, that you're never fully invested in it, even in the tense moments. But I kind of quite like that. You know, and there is, I really found the scene striking because it is so understated. When she gets the document from the safe, and then she watches the film, I thought that scene was really strong. It really, you know, she goes into that big echoey room and opens the safe, knocks the chessboard over. Then we don't actually see the film. We see her watching the film. And I just, that started to pull me in a bit dramatically. I thought that, but you know, it was still relatively muted. I kind of like the fact that there was something in this film about big spaces that were echoey, you know, where the two, they had two safes and they were both in kind of big warehouse type spaces. And then obviously when she's in the crate, it's like these big empty echoey spaces where there's just a box that they put something in, either the papers or the film or her. So there's something going on there, but I don't really understand the significance of it, but I kind of like that. And yeah, the film within the film, I mean, there's two films within the film, aren't there? Because there's the film he's made with her and the nephew in it, and then there's the film of the atrocities that he's filmed in China. And then there's the film that they're in. And I think that, you know, she clearly is the star of the film. You know, the way she's, even the way her dress is often the most vivid color in the picture. So your eye is definitely drawn to her. And she's, you know, she often is filmed in a way that she looks like a kind of Hollywood starlet. You know, she's definitely the star. But you know, she is so superficial and so kind of yeah, you know, it's not like she at times is just playing the loyal wife, it seems, but then it seems like there might be more. But you don't really know. And I had the feeling at the end that actually it is like she's an actress all through her life. You know, that when she declares her love for him, like, I don't care about the politics, I just want to be with you. It is like she's acting. And that, I hadn't noticed at the end that it looks like a film set when she's on the beach. But that would make sense, that you've got the two films within the film, but the outer film, the film that the main characters are in, is maybe also almost explicitly a film as well. And so there's something about what's reliable here. I think, again, you alluded to it, that, potentially nothing is reliable, even the main film that we're watching. And so I kind of quite liked that uncertainty. Once you kind of understand their political ambition, and it raises the issues of being a traitor versus doing the right thing. When are you a traitor to your country, and when is it right to go against your country? It kind of had an earnestness and an authenticity to those issues. But then, the husband, Yusaku, he just wasn't trustworthy. It wasn't like you liked him and you really admired his, political mission, and he was just untrustworthy and not particularly, a little bit arrogant and not particularly nice. And, she, as I said, she seems very kind of superficial, and, so there's a lot of uncertainty here. And then the way they just, without a thought really, let the nephew, go to prison, or whatever happened to him. It's all very strange. I mean, overall, I did quite enjoy it, as I'm hearing myself speak all these positive things, and I kind of like the mystery of it. But like you, it's funny, I almost feel exactly the same as you. I feel that I should like it more than I do. It seems like it's got quite a lot in it, as I've outlined, that interests me. And I feel like, given all of that, I should feel that I like it more than I do, and I don't. There's something just falls short. I don't love this film, but it's it was an enjoyable watch, and I only just finished it a few hours ago, so I'm actually, it'd be interesting to see how much I think about it in the next few days.
Yeah, it is interesting. Yeah, I feel exactly the same way. That as you particularly hearing you talk about it, there is lots of really interesting stuff in this film. Like what occurred to me as I was watching it, the way it situates itself in a very particular time and place. You hear about the Non-Aggression Pact, and so it's the Second World War, and then it rewrites history with this whole thing about the bubonic plague, which is just a really peculiar thing to do. I think you're absolutely right about there is all sorts of sort of cultural references in there, I'm sure, that would deepen one's engagement with it. The one film that it did bring to mind was that one, I Live in Fear, the Akira Kurosawa one about the bomb. And that one ends in a mental hospital as well, with the old man. He's looking at the sun, and he thinks it's the earth that's burned up. It's a really powerful scene. So it reminded me a little bit of that. Perhaps there's a nod to that in there somewhere. But yeah, really puzzling little film, hey?
Yeah. I mean, I kind of felt for a while that it was a little bit cliched, maybe, and a little bit, it seems like you kind of found a bit of the beginning was a bit striking. I kind of thought, for a little while into this film, I thought, I wonder why this is on Mubi, really, because this is quite a lot of this is cliched. It's kind of a thriller. It's a bit Hollywood style, but actually, as it went on with all these uncertainties and ambiguities, I do think it's quite clever the way it uses some of those themes and its genre, but it kind of is almost dreamlike. I mean, where it really turned for me is when she has that bizarre dream, that it suddenly started getting interesting at that point, because it had felt quite conventional. And as I say, it is so understated. It had felt quite conventional until that point. And by the end of it, I certainly don't think it is conventional. It's a it's a strange film that I still don't fully understand.
Yeah, and the other thing I meant to say is that there's something very peculiar even about the title, because it's called Wife of a Spy. She's the wife, which means he's the spy. And then all the way through it, he's saying, I'm not a spy. And then the twist hinges on him revealing himself to actually probably is a spy, which you know all along because it's the title, which is, there's something really upfront and devious about that in a peculiar way. So yeah, odd little film.
And then when he says to her, you're not the wife of a spy, because she starts off by saying, I don't want to be the wife of a spy.
Yeah.
So there's something quite fun in that, I think. Well, I would say worth watching, but not spectacular.
Yeah, I mean, certainly one to puzzle over. It's one I'd like to read about to see if I've missed something major.
Yeah, agreed. So what are we watching next?
Next, we're going to watch Lamb by Vladimir Johansson.
Excellent. Really looking forward to that.